Hi everyone, it's Kay from the Paper Shed. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for popping on and joining me today. We are back with another hashtag ABC April 2025 collaboration with the lovely Margerth from Seven Plaza and the gorgeous Toni from Crafted by Toni. What a mega event it's been. It's been absolutely fantastic. And after today, we've only got 2 days left. But I'm sure whatever we've got planned in May will be just as brilliant. I believe that there's been, over 100 channels that have been taking part in this collaboration. It's been absolutely mega and I've loved it. So we are on day 28, like I said, we are on the letter X, and that was really hard. So the prompts were wildcard or do whatever. So I'm going to do whatever, and I'm going to get my stuff together, and I'm going to come back and show you whatever is. See you in a minute. So this is my whatever. I have got the inspiration from Marie at Crafty Landing. She was involved in a collaboration over on Rachel Bella Crafts, and she did this beautiful sliding mechanism for a pocket and tag. And I just loved it. I just thought it was a great idea. And so we have a little tag here, which, because you can use this as a little tuck spot, I've just added that just because it allowed me to, and I wanted to sort of bring this rusty coloured thread into it. And I didn't really want to put it in this tag here. So we've got this sliding mechanism here, so this tag slides out with lots of writing space on the back. And then here we have a pocket. A torn pocket with 2 more tags in and 2 lovely pieces of ephemera out of Margerth's kit. So it's really just creating this pocket and sliding mechanism, and the rest is just really ephemera. So I thought I've got to give it a go. And I thought, well, for the wild card, what I would do is I would do something that was inspired by somebody else, because I think it's always nice to get recognition when you do anything. And I just loved it. I think it's just super cool. Now there is quite a bit more that you could do with this. You could do some stamping, you could do adding lots of different layers and elements. I've made this tag quite thick. I've only put bits on down here and ruffled those edges up a little bit. I just love it. I just think it's come out super cool. And I've just put that little ticket in there. So we're going to do the other side, because I've done this as a double page for a journal. And so I thought we'd do the other side and show you how to do it. So I have a few bits and pieces already prepped and ready to go, because obviously I don't want this video to take forever. And the tag does take quite a bit of doing. Now, the tag that I've got for both sides are identical, apart from the colour and the texture. This one's a slightly darker tag than this initially was. So we start really by just ripping down, and this is going to be quite hard because I've backed it already. Just ripping down. I don't want to go over the image at all. So I want to rip around that image. And I don't mind the white, because that's going to be, it's harder to do when you can't sort of grab that and guide it. There we go. I want to guide that now down the bottom here. I want to leave that edge on there, around there, and I just want to come off the end here. Okay, now I'm not going to throw that away, because we can use that. I've used it in different places, so I've put a little bit here, put a little bit on my tag here. All these ripped pieces can be used. They're not scrap. And if there's too much or you're not sure, then just take it off. But all I'm going to do, there's a lot of ink into this, and I've used ground espresso and vintage photo. So I'm just going to go in with my vintage photo first. I don't like that top bit there. Let me just, that's it. I'm just going to go in and just colour that first. The reason why I want to leave some of this white on is because it will naturally roll, especially when you ink it, because you're getting it slightly wet. And it will automatically roll in places. Now, I've probably made it harder for me, there we go, to do this because I've backed my tag already just to save a little bit of time. But if you've done it on a thicker piece, just use whatever you have just to roll that in. In some places, it doesn't need to be rolled all the way. It just needs to be manipulated just a little bit and rolled up in those thicker places. Where it's thinner, you don't need to roll it. But yeah, so either it'll naturally roll if it's a thinner piece of card, but I've backed it already because I just wanted to save a little time. And I just need my other dubber because I just want to make that a bit darker in some places where it's rolled. And then I'm just going to darken that stitching up a little. It's just a little bit too white. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to, I'm just taking the harshness of the, just dulling down that colour a little on the top there. So we're now ready for the next bit. And that is to get some pieces on like this to roll back. So what I want to do first is I want to get some of this. And I've already got a torn edge on this one part, and I only want a little bit of it showing just to roll this back. So I'm going to take off about that much. Have I got a piece? Not a piece that will fit. Oh, hang on. I've got a piece there that might fit rather than like that. Yeah. So what we want to do is we just want to glue that on the back here. Okay. I'm going to do that. So all I've got there is the one part is straight. This is the ripped edge, and you can rip that or a little bit more once you've got it onto your sheet here. And I'm just going to use glue stick just because it'll be quicker and slightly easier. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to get that wide piece on that end, because I do want this to be fairly straight. Doesn't matter if it's off slightly, that's fine. And I'm just going to burnish that down so that it sticks to that edge nicely. And just trim that off the end and then it's not distracting. Right, and then with this piece here, we want this cutting off. Can you see me okay? Cutting off here. We're just going to rip it a little bit further so that it's closer to itself, because you are going to put another piece on. And if it's too much like this part is, just come in and rip that. It doesn't matter if you don't get a full sort of rip and it touches this other piece, because it's sort of the effect that you're looking for. If you can see from this one, if I take this one out, if you can see from this one, this is the effect we're trying to go for. Okay, so you just do whatever you can to rip that out as close to that rip as possible. And we've got a bigger piece here. I'm going to get the ink while it's drying. I'm just going to rub against that edge Now I'm doing it flat on because I want to keep as much of this colour as I can. So I'm just trying to catch those raw fibrous edges that will catch the colour. And then again, you will find that it will sort of curl up. It will sort of do it on its own, but because we're going to put another piece on, you need to really just curl this up because you want to put another piece on and you don't want those edges to be glued. There is a way to do it, I'll show you how. So I'm going to put another piece of that on, and I've got another piece here. So what I want to do this time is, that's not wide enough, so we'll have to cut a piece off here. So we'll just get another wider piece off of here. Okay. If you was doing just a journal card for this, and you haven't got this tag shape, then you get away with just doing strips. But because I've got to come out so far to get that glued on, to create this part here, then you need it to be slightly wider. And that's what you want to do there. So what I'm going to do now is just pop a bit of glue just down the side of there. And then I'm going to just pop that on close to that edge as possible. And we're going to cover this back piece up. I mean, you could leave it if you wanted to, if you wanted the effect. Well, I put that too far out actually, so I'm just going to pull that back. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just going to cut that end piece off just to stop it from being... Now you can see your other part, and because it's got glue on it, you can just try and roll up certain areas of it. Just before you cut this one down. It is better if you wait for it to dry, to be fair. No, I don't mind how big that is. I'm just going to push it back just slightly, just so that I can edge it. Let me just fasten that in. It's just a little, yeah, this side's not out enough. I'm just going to push that out and then try and push it that way. That's it. Okay, and then we're going to come in again with the ink and just re-ink this edge. Okay, I didn't cut quite enough off there. Off that edge. And then we'll just come in and roll those edges. Okay, I'm going to cut that bit off as well at the top there. Okay, so that's your two pieces of leather look. And then I want to come in with a more secure piece because obviously this is paper. It's all I'm using there is I've just made that leather look, this sort of paper, and I've just made that out of packaging or brown paper. So I just scrumpled it up, I damped it, sprayed it, and then just scrumpled it all up, let it dry, open it up, scrunch it up again, damp it down and scrunch it up again in a different direction, and then let it dry again, opened it all up, and then just gone over with my ink pad. Now you can use you know, a medium to go over the top if you want to. So I have seen it with covering in a medium, like a matte medium, you can cover it in. But I don't mind it looking like this, and it's quite, you know, it dries pretty good. You do get markings on the back, so you can do it on the back as well if you want to. But I made this a while back, and I just thought it would come in for something eventually, and it has. So I have the idea of using it for this. Now I want to make the back part a bit more secure here. So what I want to do is I just want to bring in a thicker piece of card there, and it's only just to secure those edges. So what I'm going to do is I want to bring that in, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop that over there. Okay, and then so I want it about that size, and then I'm just going to come in and just tear down the side. I'm not going to be that precious about it. I just want to cut it down the side, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this part in and glue that on there. Now you could leave it, because I've left it straight on the back. I mean, I do need this part here to be right, so I'm just going to cut in a diagonal across there just to create that tag look, and keep it in line with that. And then it brings that tag back into shape, and it also gives you the same size tag. So I'm just going to glue that on the top. It's just going to give you a little bit of added security for your packaging paper. Okay, I'm not really that bothered if it's straight or not, to be honest. Actually, I quite like it wider. I'm just going to burnish that in. Now, to be honest, you could actually leave the back. When I did it the first time, and again, you're going to be able to roll those edges that have been created. And it doesn't have to be all the way down. It's just the parts that that will naturally curl, you know, if that makes sense. So all we're really doing is creating this effect, but we're rolling it as we do that effect, like in that. So I'm just going to ink that as well now. So I want the rolls opened and then rolled back in, opened up with your thing and then rolled back in. And then roll that open and then roll it back in with your ink pad. Perfect. I love it. Isn't that cool? Then we're going to just do a little bit of distressing. Let me pop that glue away for a second. Just going to do a little bit of distressing on the edges of this. I think what I'll do this time is I'm going to leave that. It is thick enough. The last time I recovered it as best I could whilst leaving that part there. But I think I don't really need to in this instance because it's fairly straight and I don't think it matters. Still a writing space at the end of the day. So I'm just going to scratch down the edges of here just to distress it a little bit more and bring it in with that edge. And then I'm just going to get my ground espresso just to come in and do that. Just down the sides just a little bit. And then get my sander. Where's my sander gone? There it is. And I'm just going to come in and just sand that bit off, like it. Just need an eyelet in the top of there, and then I think we can class that as done and finished. So I'm just gonna, I picked these ones because the circular thing is quite a wide one, and this covers it. So these are the We Are Memory Keeper ones. I don't mind that that's curling there either. So that's our tag done. I've already prepped these ones that go inside this pocket. So all we really need to do now is the pocket. So what I did was I just made sure, so my pocket's going to go on the outside. And what I did was I pushed that in to there and then measured how far I needed it to come. Now I could have got away with a 2-inch, but I sort of wanted a bit of a deeper pocket. So I went to 2.5. I think it was 2.5. Yeah, it was about 2.5. So I cut a piece at 3. Let me just show you. So this is off the end of a full A4 sheet. Cut it at 3 inches, and then I did a 1/4-inch score line on the end there. And then what I did here was I did 3 notches. So it's I don't know what it is. Just bear with me. So there's the 1/4. I did one before the 1/2-inch mark. So that just so that I got the right size, because I've cut this sheet that I started with down for my journal. And then I just mitered the corners and edged all of that. So I'm just gonna ink that up, and then I'm gonna stick that down. And that gives me the perfect size to go on there, with doing that extra, just that 1/8 past the 1/4 line. Just gives me a little bit of extra gusset there. So I've got a piece there which I'm just going to glue down, and I'm only really using glue stick because it gives that paper, because it's stretchy, that I always find the paper spreads. And I've got my ripped edge along the top, so I just want to plop that down on there, and then I'm going to just smooth that down. And I'm going to get this, because of the creases in it, it stretches, the paper stretches. But I mean, if you're not using this, then obviously you just cover it like you would a normal pocket. And we're just going to trim that out. I'm just going to go around with scissors. You want to leave the front, because you want that edge to be like that. So if you're not using this sort of paper to cover, and you're using digital papers to cover, just cover it like you would normally with a ripped edge, and you'll get the same sort of effect going on. And then what I want to do is underneath here now, I want to put on a piece of craft paper that is sort of going to sit and do that. So it doesn't need to be very wide. Have I got a piece ripped already? Probably have. Is that a piece? Yeah. So it doesn't need to be very wide. You just want a ripped edge. It doesn't have to be straight. And this is just packaging paper, this is. I buy it on the roll because I don't get any packages here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it inside that pocket. And I'm just going to have it hanging over like this, so that you get this double sort of ripped effect. So I'm going to glue that in. Down here. To there. And then I'll cut it off in just a second. want to know, just come shy of your score line and then do that. That's way too wide, so we want to just take that up and you want to just pop that in to there. So you just want it to be, you want to see it, but you want it shy. Okay, and then I'm just going to score that in. I always say score, I mean burnish. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to peel that back and snip that off. Okay, still over the score line, just bear with me. Yeah, that's the look I'm looking for now. So what you want to do now is you want to just get this and roll it. Get your edges. This one, the pocket side is easier to do because it's not glued down to this paper here. So you want to ink that up as well. It reminds me of like burnt papers. I quite like that. So I'm just going to go round the edge now. Before I get that glued in, I just want to get this piece measured so that it's equal on the page. So I just want to take that down to there. And then I want to take that part down to there because I want to glue this in after I've put my sliders on. So I'm going to glue this in first. And all we're going to do is obviously glue the pocket in. So just down there. I don't really want too much seepage, so I'm just going down the middle, she says. Can't do it in a straight line. Okay. I'm going to put it on there. Don't wipe it on there. And then I'm just going to pop that there. Like that fall and then push it into place where it needs to be. Right? Yes. Okay. And I like that. I think I left this a bit longer this time. This one is sort of glued together, whereas I like it sort of loose. I think it looks a bit better. So I'm just going to get some pegs on that while I can. Just in the most important bits, which is these top pieces. The corner pieces of your pocket. Okay, just for a minute. Just for a minute while we prep this top piece. Now, when I initially did it, I wanted to sort of leave a gap at the bottom, but I couldn't with the piece that I picked. So I'm going to just do obviously the same because I want it to be like a mirror image. And so I'm just going to cut down here. I'm just going to rip my piece. And again, don't throw your ripped bit away because that will come in, I'm sure. And then I'm just going to ink that up, she says. And then that's going to go on there once we've got our sliders on. So we're just going to prep the slider, which is this one. So what I've done is I've got two pieces of 1 inch by whatever that is there. So I've gone right to the end of my pocket, but just shy of the top of your paper, where your paper is. And then I've just covered it in some of this. Now, you can cover it in whatever papers you're using. It doesn't have to be this. And I'm just going to cut those out. So these are, and then I'm just going to bend those and burnish them down because you want them to lie as flat as you can. Okay. do it off of there. Doing everything taggy-handed today. I don't actually feel right today. I don't know what's wrong with me. Okay, so we've got those two bits. Now one end needs to be closed up. And the easiest way to do it is to wrap something round it. Now I have glued, but it's restricting because your piece won't go right the way in. If you do it on the outer, and where did my leather pieces go? Okay, so you've got your leather piece here. I am going to do this though as well because I didn't on the last one and it was annoying. I'm just going to round that edge. So that is the end bit, which is your in. And then this top bit needs to be edged with something or turned over. So I'm going to use this sort of thing to do mine. But you can just use whatever is going to suit your piece of work. I'm just going to take the white off of that bit. So I'm just going to stick that onto there like that. And then do the same with this one. But yeah, use anything. You can just use the same sort of piece of card if you want to. And then I just need to round that edge there before I glue. That's it. Okay, so we're going to take these off, but I'm still going to need some of them. Because what I want to do is, that's the bottom one. And then I want that to be like that. So we're going to glue that on. And you don't want to be skimpy on the glue. This is going to be doing a lot of work with it having the tag going in and out all of the time. So you want to stick that down to the bottom of your page. And then I'm going to just stick some of these on just to get that to grip properly on those corners. Okay, I'm going to do the other one. Just going to go on like that. Okay. Only there, too much glue really. Like so. Just put it round the right way. Try not to get any glue on your work. Down to the bottom of your page. And then we'll stick these on just to help those edges stick properly. Another one just for the middle bit. Okay, and then we're going to leave that to dry. Yeah, that's that side. That's this side. How cool. I absolutely love this. So I want to thank Marie for giving me the inspiration from Crafty Landing. I just thoroughly enjoyed her video. It was just so good. And such a cool way to use it. I mean, she's done like, you know, a very florally shabby chic vintage. And, you know, this is proper sort of, you know, grunge. But I think there's just so much more that you can do with it. I think there's so much more that you can incorporate into this project, which would be great. So, yeah, I'm just going to leave that to dry and then I'll be back. Okay, so I think this is glued and done. Just got to make sure that you didn't glue them both down because you need your slider to work. So just run that down there and just run that down here. There we go. Just make sure that they're open. Then we're just going to glue this in. Now, That's perfect there. Okay. Yeah, just going to glue that in. So I'm just going to use Collab for this, just because it'll give me some wiggle room, and we haven't got to touch that again, so that will be fine. So I'm just going to stick that into there. And I'm only doing this like this because I want to cover, if I've got any of the backing of these on my top of my pocket, I want to be able to cover that up. So I just take it the lift. There we go. Lovely. I like it. I like the look of it already. And then I just want to burnish those down a bit more. I had this with that one. I don't know why. But I just want to be able to push that into there. And this is what I mean, see, this one will go right the way down to here, whereas this one won't, because I had to glue it because I forgot to do the ends. So that's the difference. You'll see a lot more of this pattern here if you do it that way. But it doesn't actually make any difference, really, much difference. So either way that suits you, either glue it or just do the ends, because it will be better. I think it's a better option, because if you was to do like a full piece of this rather than a tag, because you can actually see that it's a tag, you can actually see that it's in something, whereas if you had a full piece, it would just look like a pocket. And yeah, I think with it going down to the bottom, it just makes that look better. But I don't mind it either way with it being a tag. So all we need to do now is do the inside. And what I'm going to do is, I've just made and grunged up these sort of beautiful images from out of Margerth's kit. And they're just going to go into the bottom. And I've just got to make sure that that isn't stuck in any way down there. So I'm just going to get my bone folder and just make sure. There we go. And then that way then these cards will go in all the way to the bottom. There we go. Same with that one. Right down to the bottom. Okay. And then I did a couple of tags which I've just distressed and inked around and sandpapered. So they'll go into there like that. And then this gets put into there. And you can push it down as far as you want to. I like that. I love the fact that you can see this. I think it's just so cool. And then we've got our little tag that we can tuck into there if we want to. I only did that because I wanted to bring this sort of cord in. I've got a variety of faux suede cord, and I thought I'd use it for this project. Well, that's it. So all I'm going to do is just pop that through there. It does make it a bit fatter, so you don't need to do this bit if you don't want to add any more to it. But I do think it looks quite cool. If you just pull one at a time, that will become tighter for you. And then you could pop that into there. How cool is that? I love it. I absolutely love it. So there you have it. How lovely. I'm absolutely thrilled with it. And then that'll just go, that could be a centerpiece for any journal. Centre page for any signature. Obviously these two actually make it quite thick. So if you was to take those out, yeah, I also think wherever these are, but yeah, the profile's quite slim, so it's not too bad without those in. But I quite like those in there, so I'm going to leave them in. But yeah, I love it, and I do like this better, where you just fold around the edge, so that you've got a full width down there. So I would definitely do these again. I think they're absolutely great. So I hope you liked the wild card. I really did want to start using Margerth's beautiful kit. I think it's amazing, and I can't wait to do a journal with it. So I'm just making up things up at the moment, and this is just going to be spectacular. So I love it. I hope you did too. Thanks so much for coming by and joining me. I hope you can take something away from this and incorporate it into something that you can do. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did, and I would definitely use this in lots of other journals. So thanks again. Thanks for watching. I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.